Focus on New York now. New Yorkers heading to the polls to pick their next mayor today, or at least the primary for the Democrats. It's basically the election. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams is favored in a crowded Democratic field. The campaign is centered largely on the rising crime in New York, policing and public safety. New surveillance video that we have also from the weekend shows us that one of Adams' campaign staffers is being repeatedly stabbed in the Bronx in the middle of the afternoon. The New York City Police Department is also asking for help in this case. You may have seen this video, shocking video. The staff are undergoing surgery as a result. And then Adams tweeting his support for his team member and also called for the violence to stop. Let's talk more about this and welcome in now former New York City Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik. He's also a Newsmax contributor. New York City Councilman Joe Borelli is here with us, and we're bringing the Staten Island representation strong today with former New York City Congressman Vito Fossella, who is the longest-serving Republican member of Congress in Staten Island history. He's also the senior president of RTR Financial Services, and he's running for Staten Island Borough President. Gentlemen, great to have you all here with us today.
Thank you, John. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And Bianca's going to stay with us as well as we continue our conversation. But Bernie, all of the mayoral candidates, except Mr. Adams, are calling for defunding the police. Is there anyone in this field that you see who's serious about getting their arms around this crime problem in New York City?
Well, I think on the Democratic side, you have a bunch of left-wing lunatics, everything from Marxists on down. Eric Adams is somebody that was in the police department. He worked for me. He was a lieutenant that worked for me. He was the president of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. And he's not, historically, he wasn't a friend to the police department. And I'm a little concerned. 2 weeks ago, he made some kind of statement that he'd like to follow in the footsteps of David Dinkins. David Dinkins had the most substantial crime record, violent crime record in the history of the NYPD, some 2,200 murders when Dinkins was in charge. So I hope Eric has a change of heart. The good thing about Eric is he lived through the Renaissance of New York. He worked for me. He worked for Bratton, Giuliani. He understands how to change the dynamics and reduce crime. He knows how to do it because he had to do it under us. Whether he can do it himself or will do it himself, that's a different story.
Well, and also it's a different time because, as you mentioned, there were revivals of New York when we've seen it, fall upon, heavy crime and had to be cleaned up. But we have to also make a note, gentlemen, and I'm sure you'll agree that the laws were different then. And now when we've had a change of laws where people feel almost that they're brazen enough during, broad daylight that they can start gunning down people and pulling out guns. I mean, you have to wonder how much harder that cleanup could be. I mean, Councilman Joe Borelli, you see it. I mean, this is just video after video, but another assault reported in Times Square subway station. Tourists are getting punched. Is the law now just going to make it even harder for people who are in control to try and put these people away?
Well, yeah, it's the policies that are causing this problem. It's not a lack of good policing. It's not a lack of officers doing the work that they have to do. You're showing that video, and what more clear sign of the need for a New York drastic change of direction than the front-running mayoral candidate having their own campaign volunteer being stabbed with an ice pick. There probably is no greater sign that the city needs to change direction. But it goes back to the policies of the leaders who we've elected in the past who made these fundamental flawed decisions. These people in these neighborhoods are victims themselves of this type of woke progressivism that has falsely convinced them that it's the police officers who are the ones bringing violence and destruction to the community, and rather than the actual gangs. And think about the low bar we have set, and Bernie just articulated it. Think about the low bar we set when we're talking positively about Eric Adams, just for the mere fact that he acknowledges that the police will play a role in the city bringing down crime. We have candidates like Maya Wiley who refuse to even say whether the police should carry firearms in this city. This is the spectrum from which New York is going to have to select from today. And it really does bring some scary thoughts to mind, especially when you see nightly all these horrible videos. These two kids from last week, just horrible video after video of people being victims.
Yeah, to watch that video over and over again, to see the sister cover her younger brother to protect her, it's just heartbreaking that any child would have to go through that. And we can talk about priorities as well, Vito, because you got the district attorney, Cyrus Vance. He's dropping charges against hundreds of people who were arrested for looting and rioting last year. Instead, he's choosing to pursue this investigation of the Trump Organization on allegations of tax, loan, and insurance fraud. I mean, what is the bigger, clear and present danger to the people of New York City? You know, these videos we're seeing on a daily basis, or this ongoing tax, loan, and insurance fraud case that Cyrus Vance wants to track down?
You know, there's an old saying, elections have consequences. And when you choose a radical left group of individuals, this is what you're going to be left with. The city is in chaos. There's lawlessness. There are people in the middle of the day being pushed on subways. So actually, I agree with Joe Borelli. The city needs to change in a different direction, especially Staten Island. That's why I decided to run for borough president of Staten Island, because I felt that this place was moving in a terrible direction. In fact, I was honored to have the support of President Donald Trump and Mayor Giuliani, who really brought about a change to this city. We're seeing a repeat of what we saw in the 90s when people were being murdered day in and day out, and then people just threw their hands up and said there's nothing we can do about it. But we proved time and time again that we could bring the city back, we could make our streets safer, we could make our communities safer, and we're seeing the same thing play out right now. So people, people need to stand up and say enough is enough. You have looting that took place over the summer last year under the guise of COVID, right? You can't get out of your house without a mask, but you can march down Fifth Avenue and destroy everything under the sun. And then fast forward to today, those people who caused so much carnage and participated in so much looting are now getting a free pass. And that's happening every single day, not just in New York City and Staten Island. We need to take a stand up and say enough is enough.
And, you know, Vito and gentlemen, we want to talk about something that Andrew Yang said last week, and mayoral candidate, of course. He said something about mental health during the Democratic primary debate. It drew some backlash, so let's just take a listen here first.
Yes, mentally ill people have rights, but you know who else have rights? We do. The people and families of the city. We have the right to walk the street and not fear for our safety because a mentally ill person is going to lash out at us.
You know, a little bit of controversy here, but also, I mean, are we talking about a mentally ill person and just not ignoring that there are also people, gun-toting people just running rampant around? I mean, yes, of course, he said, he went on to comment saying that these people that are mentally ill are scaring off tourists. And some people are saying, well, you know, what's really scaring off tourists are the people who are the lawless criminals who are still out there. Bernie, you've been on the front lines here. What do you think of Yang's comments, and will they hurt him today?
I don't know if they'll hurt him, but he's right. He is right, but the bigger picture is overall crime. For every percentage point we saw crime drop in New York City, and Giuliani dropped violent crime by 65%, homicide by 70%. In the black communities, the murder rate dropped by almost 80%. For every percentage point it dropped, we saw increases in economic development, real estate values, and tourism. The city will flourish with the drop of crime, but the city will implode with the increase of crime. And to Vito's point, that's what's going to happen. If crime continues to rise, the city will implode. And it took the 2,200 murders a year in 1993 for people to finally come in and say, you know what, we don't care if it's a Democrat, we're a Republican, we need somebody to fix it. And they elected Giuliani.
And to follow up on that point, Bertie, it's not just the murders that hurt the black community. A lot of times the looting and the rioting we see, this is, you know, crimes that are committed in these same communities. And, you know, you got, Joe, people like AOC kind of dismissing this as folks who need bread and diapers, and that's why they're looting. But, you know, when we see the video, they're not looting bread and diapers from these stores.
No, they're looting the same stores that you and I would love to go to and shop and get free stuff from, too. I would love new sneakers and jewelry and TVs and liquor and all these wonderful things that we have to still pay for. But look at this in totality. The DA just dropped charges against just about every single looter that participated in the riots last summer. This is the same week where the city's Civilian Complaint Review Board just brought charges against 39 police officers for acting inappropriately in the same incidents. So what is that message sent to police? Number one, that it's not worth intervening when it's someone's property on the line. And number two, even if it's worth it, you might still get jammed up while the people you're trying to arrest will get away scot-free. Unfortunately, it's coming very close until we have to just tell police officers in the NYPD to just give the mayor the police department that he asked for. Give them the police department that the city council wants, because at the end of the day, it just might not be worth it for police officers to go out there, risk their life, and now risk their criminal liability as well.
Just one follow-up on that real quick, Joe, and I don't mean to be glib here, but we know that if you were going to loot anything, and not that you would, you'd be going to Modell's and you'd be going right to the golf section. Let's just be honest about that.
Send me a new driver who's ever watching.
All right. Anyway, Bianca, take it away.
Well, I mean, I just hear the passion in all of your voices. New York is a city, of course, it has endured so much, and the people who are there, we know how strong they are, we know how tough they are, but they don't deserve to live like this. No one who's a law-abiding citizen, paying their taxes, trying to put food on the table for their children should be forced to live in a situation like this. And it does seem broken beyond repair right now, and everyone's looking for answers, and everyone wants to see that glimmer of hope. But ultimately, how it gets ushered in and who can do it, it just doesn't seem like it's a possibility, at least in the anywhere near future. Vito, we know you're running for office. You have a few more months, unlike the mayoral candidates today, though. I mean, if you get in there, number one, what's the timeline for a turnaround for New York? Because people want to see it. People who love that city want to see that.
We do. And by the way, there is a primary. I'm running today. So if you're sitting at home in Staten Island, you're a Republican, please get out and vote. Join Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, a number of others who supported me. So we could appreciate it. You know, Bianca, you said at the outset about the tools, and Bernie could speak to this better than I, but the reality is not only have we taken the tools away from the police officers to do their job, we've actually told them not to do their job. And now, to Joe's point, you're going to punish them for doing their job. So we're caught in this downward spiral of chaos and a lack of common sense. There's too much insanity coming from the left. The most important thing government can do and should do is to protect innocent people. So we need to get ahead of it. We know where this is going. We know how this movie is going to end. If you allow people to arrest them at 11 o'clock during the day and they're out by 5 o'clock, these people aren't stupid. They know there's no consequence. They're going to keep doing what they're going to do. And one day it's going to be somebody's kid or somebody's sister or somebody's wife that's going to be just violently hurt in the middle of the street in the middle of the day. That shouldn't happen in New York City. It definitely shouldn't happen in Staten Island. We need to say, stop defunding the police is an insane, we should start saying that defund the police is an insane policy. It's dangerous. It's dumb. Let's give the city back to the people who built it, small business owners, innocent people who go to school, go to work every day, and the tourists who will flourish. How many tourists are going to come from around the world if they know that they could get stabbed in the middle of the day in broad daylight? It's not going to happen.
Right.
So let's take the city back.
Yeah, these videos not the best tourist campaign for the city of New York. No question about that. Bernie, great to see you. Vito, thanks so much. And Joe, great to see you as well, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.